Recording.
All right, we're back, and I've just made some adjustments, and I altered my plan just slightly because the access to the power jet on the Lectron Pro for the DRZ is very accessible. So I will go ahead and change that other the height of the metering rod, but that is a little bit more involved on this bike in particular than doing this power jet issue that I think will fix things. I may put a cut of that in this video depending on how it works, but we basically have about a quarter to a third of a turn out as the base settings. That's about where we were at. So yeah, I'd probably call it about a quarter of a turn, because we went from about a 1 o'clock position to of where it was at to a 4 o'clock position ish. So because I was looking at it a little bit crooked. So instead of being all the way closed at 4 o'clock, I put it at about 3 o'clock. And you'll see that if I insert that video on this. And we'll just see how that affects things. I did a rough, just a slight pull in it on the way over here, and it seemed to make a difference. Hello. So we're going to just see how it affects it just as a little first gear pull and see if it makes a difference here. We're still doing something similar. It's still something similar. I may have to close it all together. So that's one of the things that we're going to do, but it seemed like at wide open throttle, it seemed like it pulled a lot better. I may have to close it all the way, because it seemed like it was getting lazy on me. I'm not trying to disturb the folks out here walking their dog, because that's just rude, and I like try to be considerate, but I wanted to get some of our data. So that didn't really feel, it didn't seem good. It didn't seem right. So I'm going to just do a clutch up and second just to see, just for my own purposes real quick. That is better. So what I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to go out of sight here, and just zero this thing out. And I'm not going to go very far from base here, because what I want to do, I definitely don't want to do, is I don't want to be in a lean condition, like an extremely lean condition, which I brought my tools with me, which makes me smart. So I'm going to do it right here on the side of the driveway over here. I'm out of the way. I've got my handy dandy Milwaukee tools here. And I don't know if it's going to show up very good for you. So again, to reiterate where we're at, I don't know if this is showing for you, but we'll just see. We were approximately here. I moved it to here. And I'm just going to close it, because I think we're just getting too much fuel, okay? And this is just for my purposes of testing. I think we're getting too much fuel at that wide open throttle. The easy thing about it is I can adjust that on the fly. Now, what that also is telling me is that we may be, if this doesn't make a big difference, we may be at the limit of this carburetor. So I'm just going to go out here And I may cut this video if these people are still exercising their dog out here, because I don't want to be rude. And what I'm also doing here in the meantime is I'm allowing this carburetor to reset a little bit. I mean, you know, we haven't hurt anything off the bottom. And I'm trying to be careful on this because there's some sand out here. So real quick, I'm just going to do kind of my normal, what I've been gauging this as. That's much better. That's much better. It's not best, but it did not cut. It cut a little bit, but I feel the cams. So we're going to go ahead and clutch up real quick here. I mean, that only helped a little bit. That only helped a little bit. And that's kind of disconcerting to some extent. I think that's my proper vocabulary here. Again, when we're doing these things, we're trying to talk through the issue. What I'm not feeling so much is the cams kicking in. Let's see. You know, the gears are turning in my head here. At this particular point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a hold of Lectron, because it feels like to me, I think I'm out of adjustment options here. We may need to try a different metering rod. I'm not sure. I'm not the designer. I'm not the engineer here. Let's see here. It's like it shuts. It's like it's like I'm not able to adjust my way out of this. The only other thing that I can do is return our metering rod to the same height, but I don't think that's going to make a noticeable difference for us. So I'm going to give them a call. Real quick, I want to see. I want to do a highway pull from 50 to 80 with these settings. Okay, I want to do a highway pull, and then I'm gonna get that documented, and that'll be about it. That's about all that we can do. So we're at 50, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000. It's about a 6, 1,000, 50 to 80. So it appears that at wide open throttle, that hurt us. That's about a second longer, which it is what it is at this particular point. So we're going to end that video here, and we're going to go back and check the drawing board. All right, we're back, and over here is where my normal testing place is, and obviously they've got an event going on. It's a Friday evening, and I am by no means in a position to go and irritate them. This is what could be considered like part 3 or part 4. I'm not sure how I'm going to split this up, of our Lectron tuning series for Link's Garage Lectron carburetor. And we're trying to find out why we have such a rich condition in our on our carburetor when we're trying to wheelie. And that's what I'm interpreting it as, a rich condition, because we get to just a little bit below balance point, and I lose all ability to have power. And rather than having like a crackly popping type sound and feel from like an extremely lean condition, we're getting a really rich condition sound where it's just killing it, bogging itself out. It's a bog. So what we've done is we've adjusted our power jet and our torque jet way down by the advice of Lectron themselves. And through all of this, we don't want to create any animosity towards Lectron, or like, oh, don't buy Lectron, you can't do wheelies. No, this is for a 470 or 462 or ground way up carbureted bike with it's a stroker big bore. Okay, and that's exactly the way Link's engine is set up as, except for he has a wide ratio transmission. And under normal circumstances, normal operating, this thing's doing pretty good. It's doing really good. We noticed maybe a small amount of power diminishment on wide open throttle, and a good punch out of the bottom, and which is a nice surprise, because my previous experience with the H series carb, it's been very linear. But we're trying to eliminate that bogging. And we were open about a third, or maybe slightly more than a third of a turn out on both our power and our torque jet. The one at the very top and one at the very bottom. Okay. It's getting really busy over here with these people that want to show up their event. So I'm going to try to... So what I've done is I've turned them all the way in very gently, because it's a mixture screw, and you don't want to... Just like your idle speed screw, or idle mixture screw, you don't want to bottom it out real hard and bend your needle on them. So I've been instructed that they just should be open a crack. Well, a third of a turn is a lot more than a crack open. And these things, as they say, should be open in increments of 1/8 of a turn. So I've got it open maybe 1/8 of a turn. It's probably a skosh less than 1/8 of a turn. So what we're going to try to do, these are difficult circumstances. These are difficult circumstances. We're going to try to pop up a wheelie. I wanted to make sure that we were adequately warmed up before we did that, because the bike's been setting since early morning, Monday morning. This is Friday, when I heard from Lectron. They were very gracious in getting back with me via text through Link, who has the hookup through them, and so we're trying to be respectful of the chain of command, so to say. So that's the main thing that I'm trying to do, is be respectful to them, and I'm not trying to go on a rant. So with it getting busy over here, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to take it to this point. We're just hoping that we had those jets open just a little too much, and that was causing possibly even our wide open throttle bog, if you will. That's what I'm hoping. So what I'm going to do, it looks like my only opportunity to pull up over here is going to be along this way, which is where I really don't want to be. Yeah. So what we're going to do, I'm going to get a real quick one, and we're going to see how it reacts for us. Again, trying to... A normally quiet area is not a quiet area. So I had a car behind me, so that made things difficult. I may try to just pull up over here. It's not the smoothest area, and there's a little bit more sand. Oh yes! 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 That is much better than it has been. That I wouldn't be able to pull more. I don't know if you saw me roll into the throttle slightly more. But yes, that feels like a success. So, you know, these are relatively controlled conditions here. What I'm going to do now, and I think this is wise, is get the hell out of here, and then I'll start the video back up. Alright, we're back, and we're kind of in a different area over here. We're away from the test spot, which, again, this isn't ideal, because I wanted to try to maintain the same conditions for our testing, but it gives us an opportunity to see how how the changes affect our wide open throttle operation. So real quick here, I'm going to roll down to 50. We're going to do a wide open throttle roll on to compare 50 to 80. Okay, and another thing is it's about 50 degrees and maybe a little bit less than that right now, so that's tough. So 52. All right, here we go. So there's the start to finish, and I would have to argue that's a little bit better. It feels a little less fat. Now what I do notice is I've got a little bit rumbly diesel pop, but it's not terrible. And it might be something to say, it might be slightly arguable, that we're a little crisper. Now, it's at least 10 degrees cooler, if not a little bit more, than our last operation. That should be noted. But while I'm getting to the next point here to do our wheelie test, if I'm not able to get the wheelies good, I know that this is generally operating good aside from the wheelie situation. The only other thing that we can do is adjust for the float height. If our float height is not great enough or too great, we could either be in if it's a wide open throttle pull, it could make us a little leaner if we go a greater float height, which means our basin would be less of fuel. Likewise, if our float height becomes less, our fuel basin becomes larger. So that can affect how lean or rich we have it currently tuned to, which kind of makes things a little bit more of a challenge in some aspects. But it is what they say it is. But I'm not going to do that at this point. It's generally operating really good, and I'm thankful for that. I'm happy about it. But what our next step for this process is going to be removing the engine, this engine, draining my fluids, removing the engine and installing Link's engine in and breaking it in using this carburetor, because I have good confidence that this is tuned properly. It starts and idles without having to mess with it, and I have good confidence it'll do the same thing for his engine once we get it in there. And I will have a chance to take a look at that float height if, you know, if this next test coming up real soon turns out to be good. So I might not even have to mess with it, because I think we did have a rich condition which was exacerbated by the wheelie. Alright guys, this is the point in which my camera died, because it does not like the cold weather. It got down into the 30s. What I can tell you is I hung some balance point wheelies for about a quarter of a mile or so, maybe about an eighth of a mile, a couple different times, and I didn't have any more problems. I think I could probably go a little bit leaner on the torque jet because I have it cracked open. I might fine-tune this later on, but at this point I'm going to start tearing down the DRZ that I'm riding to get the engine out of it and put Link's garage engine in there and start the run-in on it. I think we're in good enough of a place where we can go ahead and start that break-in process. That being said, I think we're in good shape. I'm not going to be doing wheelies on it right out of the gate. I'm going to put an initial 30-minute ride on it, then I'm going to do about 100 miles on it, and I think we'll be done. That being said, I have to share that with the weather being uncooperative, this is just what we got to do at this point. So I just want to say one more thing. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. I might show some snippets of me changing the engine out. It's something that you've seen me do before many times on this, so we're not going to go into full depth on that. We'll see you next time.